here with now Michigan defensive line coach Mark Smith on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA. So, Schmitty, it's one of those things, and I think Brady said it best. This is like a return home for you. You've long been a defensive line coach, right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it, Sam. It's something I did for a long time in my career early, and I've always loved coaching those guys up front, and I think it's a little cult within the team, the O-line, D-line, how they hang out and how they take care of each other. So, no, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure to be back with those guys.
All right, so, Coach, let's get into talking about the, some of the guys, because you lose some veterans. You use Q Washington, Jabril Black, for instance, are guys that move on. Andre Pipkins is a kid who, has been limited by injury. In the absence of those three, who have you seen kind of emerge on the interior?
Well, to be quite honest, we've got great competition inside. Between Chris Wormley and Matt Godin and Tom Strobel, Brian Monet, the new kid that came in, you got Ryan Glasgow. I'd hate to point out anyone in particular because they're all doing a great job.
Mm-hmm. Now, we certainly saw a lot more of Chris Wormley last year coming off of that injury. He seemed to get stronger and better and more confident as the season progressed. How has he carried that season performance over to the spring?
Well, I don't think there's any problems with his health anymore. He's a young man. It's like anybody comes off a knee injury. I think sometimes you're apprehensive and a little bit hesitant. So, but at this point, you don't see any of that from Chris.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you look at Willie Henry, another kid who played a lot, and you heard his name called more often later in the season. Really seemed to improve as the year went on. How about him and how he's carried things over from the season to the spring?
Willie's a young man that has great potential, and when I say that, I think Willie can be as good as Willie wants to be. When he decides that's the time, then he will be. But he's had a good spring, and one thing you got to keep talking to Willie about is doing everything he needs to do on and off the field. So with that message being sent, I think Willie's gotten a lot better.
All right, so, Coach, again, we obviously you aren't singling out any guys and putting any guys ahead of the other, but I want to talk about some of the more unfamiliar guys because they're new to some of the fans out there. You mentioned Brian Monet, an early enrollee, a kid that I know well and have seen a lot. What about his transition process as an early enrollee? What have you seen from him?
Well, first off, Brian Monet is a great young man. I mean, you talk about a kid that's well-grounded and understands what's important in life and the things that he has done. Most people, I don't know the story about how he takes care of his brother, who is a handicapped person that Brian has just done a great job. Very mature for his age, I'll put it that way. And his transition to college has been great. He's got great work ethic. He's the most pleasant young man to be around, and he always wants to please you. So believe me, we'll take a whole team full of Brian Monets.
Now, a kid that your kids have talked a lot about is a kid that's a redshirt kid named Mo Hurst. Maurice Hurst, they say, is already one of the strongest kids on the team, and they can see it on the football field. From a coaching perspective, have you seen what the players have seen from Mo?
Yeah, Mo's a very talented young man. I think from the standpoint of strength and size, he's fine. But what Mo excels at is his quickness and his athleticism. So again, it's a fun position to coach, and I didn't inherit any plow horses. Now I've got some thoroughbreds. So my goal is not to mess them up.
Yeah, you inherit Frank Clark, who, again, you talk about late in the season. This is, you look for improvement, and Brady talked about looking for improvement from a lot of different positions. We saw it in some of the guys up front, and Frank Clark was one of the guys who was playing good football at the end of the year. What about Frank this spring?
Well, Frank Clark is a young man that has to be a dominant player for us, not just a good player. He's a young man that can change the game. He can make things happen. That when you need a change in momentum, he's the guy we're going to count on to do that. And the other thing, being one of the two seniors up front, we expect great leadership out of Frank. And so far at this point, he hasn't disappointed. So he's a guy that we're going to count on to be a difference maker.
So you flip some guys around. Taco Troughton's on the other side now, along with Brennan Byer. What about those two guys at the end position?
Well, we'll start with Brennan because with him being the other senior, Brennan brings everything to the table you're looking for, from leadership to his work ethic to how tough he plays. So we think Brennan, and we anticipate Brennan's going to have a great season. Now, Taco, he's come a long way. A year ago, Taco played on a sparing basis here and there on the field, but he's a young man during spring ball that you see now that you can count on him to be out there on a regular basis. And as you know, we like to rotate guys. And with that being said, we may rotate 3 deep if we keep progressing.
Right, yeah, we didn't even talk about Mario on the other side, so you got a lot of guys that you could roll in there. Coach, last question for you before we talk about the academies, just from a very broad perspective, what are the things that you think your position group has done well this spring, whether it be run defense, pass rush? What are the things that you think, hey, we really need to get better at this?
Well, you know what? We kind of emphasize 4 basic things when it comes to playing up front, because it's not that hard. You either go right, left, or straight ahead. The big number one thing is getting off the ball. Just get off when that ball moves, and then understanding when I do get off, what's my mentality? Is it a run mentality or a pass mentality? Because it changes a little bit in your stance and your alignment. Also changes a little bit about what you do with your feet. So first and foremost, I think they've done a great job of understanding attacking the line of scrimmage. Secondly, we always talk about pad level, that we're always going to come off with a low pad level, whether it's a run or a pass. That area, in my opinion, has been inconsistent, needs to get better. At times you see what you want, but in the same light, I think they've improved, but I would say that's also an area that we need to keep improving in. Next would be movement. We move our front quite a bit, and we talk about the first step and the balance that you have to move laterally with, and they've done a real nice job with that, with their first step movement and heading the direction they need to go efficiently. And then the last thing is effort and toughness, and those are non-negotiable. You're either going to give great effort, you're going to play tough, or you won't play. Been pleased with that. I think they're understanding what we want done, and believe it or not, it wasn't hard to get them to understand. They're hungry and they want to play well.
All right, so Coach Mark Smith, you've been the guy that's run the Women's Academy the last couple of years, and so you have a very unique perspective on things. It's going to be the first weekend in June again, also the men's experience taking place. What can the fans expect from the men's experience, from the Women's Academy, and what can they expect when they come by Mark Smith's station?
Well, first off, let's set the record straight. I don't run the Women's Academy. Kelly Vaughn runs the Women's Academy. All right, I am the liaison from the football staff. Believe me, that young lady does more work for that academy and then what the people do at the cancer center. It's amazing. But again, that whole function that we put on with the Women's Academy is just a great event, for the cause, and to help young ladies and women that have cancer issues, and help families that have cancer issues. So, it's something that if we could handle more people than 500, we could get 600, 700, 800 people at that thing. So it's a great event that it supports a great cause, and the people from Ann Arbor and a lot of areas support it greatly, and it's always a fun thing to go to. So it's an event that I think has grown and would continue to grow if we'd let it. But we just can't handle more than usually about 500 ladies. So, but it's been fun, and anybody that has a chance to come to it, I think they always go away thinking they had a great day. So it's an event that we'll keep putting on, and obviously keep trying to make it better each year we do it.